Well, greetings everybody. Today I want to cover Deuteronomy chapter 28, if I can do that in 30 minutes. Let's see if I can do that. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 28, for anyone that's familiar with it, you know that it's a prophecy of things to come. These things, some of them have taken place in mankind along the way, but it's speaking of and the reason why most people today are as complacent as they are and not wanting to believe and things of this sort is because Deuteronomy 28 has not yet been opened. I do believe that it's going to be opened when Holy Spirit is poured out on all flesh. Then everyone will know right from wrong, and if they go wrong, then what it says the curses are will come upon them. Right now, people that do wicked and evil things are rewarded. They got mansions, they got servants, they got cars and yachts and everything else, but as far as those who believe, it's not so. I want you to keep in mind that our Heavenly Father does not change. What He wrote back then is just as true for today as these scriptures, this new covenant here that I want to cover first before we get into it. And here in Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10, it says, "For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days," talking about these last days. He says, "I will put my laws in their mind and write them on their hearts," because you'll start to love them, you start keeping them, you'll practice it, and it'll be on your hearts. I mean, how many times have you seen, on videos that it says, "Don't try this at home"? People, jumping off buildings and everything else, a paraquat or whatever it's called, and if you've never done it before and try it, you're going to bust your butt. But the more you practice, the more you can jump over buildings. And that's what this is. This is how he's writing this, how he's going to put his laws in their mind and write them on their hearts. "And I'll be their father, and they shall be my people." Okay, so enough dissertation on that. Deuteronomy chapter 28 is a long chapter, and I've been through most of these curses already. I had a boil in the back of me, looked like started to look like what's his name, Quasimodo. I've had all sorts of afflictions over these years, so I can have compassion on those who it's going to come on, hoping they'll repent. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. "Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey my voice of Yahweh your Father, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh your Father will set you high above all nations of the earth." Remember, these things are written for these last days. Great-grandma and great-great-grandpa didn't have the opportunity of what it says is going to take place, because we're going to be blessed. When our King rules and reigns on the earth, we are going to be blessed. This year is, I believe, when Holy Spirit's poured out and the gathering has taken place. Then these things, you'll be blessed. "And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of Yahweh your Father." And I thought all these things were supposed to take place in these days during my life. And it seemed the more I kept the laws, the more I got things burnt down, bulldozed, stolen, robbed, cheated and swindled out of. I thought that by keeping these, that these was going to take place in these days, but it's not so. This is, I believe, for the time of the gathering. "Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the country. Blessed shall be the fruit of your body." Think about it, the fruit of the body and all the abortions that take place, the produce of your ground and the increase of your herds. Yeah, we're going to get rid of GMOs and such. We're going to get back to the basics, and we're going to eat properly and feed things properly. No more of this FDA crap, heart association baloney. trying to kill you, making you think it's healthy, and they're full of poisons and pharmaceutical drugs you couldn't even get, but they put it in your food. And it builds up and builds up until it crashes you. The increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flock. Verse 5, blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out, if you keep the laws and commandments. The Father will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Don't it come to mind? 1,000 will fall by your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you, righteous saints of Yahweh. The Father will command the blessing on you in your storehouses and in all to which you set your hand. And he will bless you in the land which Yahweh your Father is giving you. So it's a land that he's going to give us. It's going to be a place of gathering, and he's going to give us where we're going to be at. The Father will establish you as a holy people. Remember, holy means things that do not profane your body. Things that won't defile or harm your body are holy. Anything unclean or whatever is unholy. Father will establish you as a holy people to himself, just as he has sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of Yahweh your Father and walk in his ways. And this is just the covenant. This is the covenant that's being made in these last days with any who will obey. He's going to write the laws in your heart and in your mind and your inward parts and your every fiber of your DNA. He's going to write it, so you never sin willfully again, just like it talks about in 1 Yachanan chapter 3. It says that the children of the Father cannot sin. That means willfully, knowingly, or intentionally. A righteous man falls 7 times. And anyone who practices righteousness is righteous. Deuteronomy 28:10. Then all peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of you. How are they gonna? They're gonna have a seal in their forehead, and then those people that follow, they're gonna be afraid of us. Yes, they're going to be afraid. This world is going to tremble. Satan's already upset. And the Father will grant you plenty of stores in the fruit of your body and in the increase of your livestock and in the produce of your ground, in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers to give you. The Father will open to you his righteous treasure, the heavens, to give the rain in their land in its season. Boy, wouldn't that be nice to have that again. I remember when I grew up, we had it like that. Every year was just perfect. And to bless all the work of your hand. Everything I touched turned to poop, The more I kept the laws, the more I touched turned to poop. Businesses fail, everything. It was horrible. Wake up, got 3 flat tires, gotta be at work. Oh man, there was one month I blew out over 30 tires going to and from work every day. Had at least 1 flat. It was awful. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And the Father will make you the head and not the tail. Isn't that wonderful? You shall be above only and not be beneath, if you heed the commandments of Yahweh your Father, which I command you today, and are careful to observe them, to love them. So you shall not turn aside from any of the words which I command you this day, to the right or to the left, to go after other gods, or after gods. That word other shouldn't even be there. If you go after gods, that's either with a big G and all capital G-O-D or a small letter G-O-D. They're all the same. Please understand that. I brought out videos on this. Verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if you do not obey the voice of Yahweh your Father, to observe carefully all his commandments and his statutes which I command you today. What goes on then? that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. That's not taking place here today. As you can see, that's things that are going on, people stealing our children and everything, and it's horrible. It's a horrible world. This has not been opened yet. This is for a time to come. Deuteronomy 28:16. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Yeah, it's probably going to grow mold and fungus. And cursed shall be the fruit of your body, and the produce of your land, the increase of your cattle, and the offspring of your flocks. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. This is exactly, what the new covenant is speaking of. If you walk in the new covenant, you'll be blessed. And if you break the laws, you breach that covenant, then you trodden our King's blood under feet, because it was his blood that ratified the covenant for us to keep the 10 commandments by keeping the give or take 613 laws, which apply to you, and putting your full trust in our King only. That's what the new covenant does. That's how you enter into it, is just like that. How you get out of it is going out and eating, a bucket of fried clams or frog legs or whatever, You can get out of that covenant just that quick. And of course, that's 3 sentences to salvation. Simple, simple. 28:20. The Father will send on you cursing, confusion, and rebuke in all that you set your hands to do, until you are destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings, in which you have forsaken me. The Father will make the plague cling to you until he has consumed you from the land which you are going to possess. Now, a lot of people are talking about, how, the bird flu and the coronavirus, they're bad. They're bad, but they're not as bad as what's coming. I'm telling you that. It'll explain here in this chapter. The Father will strike you with consumption, with fever, with inflammation, with severe burning, with the sword, with scorching. Now, this word scorching, it talks about where the wind is so hot that it just kills off the grain in the wheat or whatever. It's a scorching. But there's also another scorching that's coming when the Malach pours his bowl out on the sun. And with fire, it's going to scorch men. That's part of this curse if you don't enter into the new covenant. And with mildew they shall pursue you until you perish. And your heavens which are over your head shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you shall be iron. Now, there's some people that'll tell you that that is from nuclear detonations, which turns under your feet like iron, okay? Kind of like a lightning strike on a beach, and it leaves a cone of glass. Well, when a detonation goes off with a nuclear device, it basically turns the ground to iron. And with everything above the head, it's in the metals, and everything in the air, is the bronze, is what some people say. Of course, it could also be other things. I mean, take a look over in Hawaii where the volcanoes went off and all the lava came out. I mean, that's like iron there as well. But he's talking about the earth, okay? So it's going to be quite a scorching as well. The Father will change the rain of your land to powder and dust. Okay, so he's talking about the rain that's going to come as powder and dust. Now, whether that's from chemtrails destroying the atmosphere or what, I don't know. It could be from nuclear detonations, because when the fallout comes, it's a powder. Could also be a volcano, because it's powder and dust. And who knows, maybe with so many volcanoes going up, the only rain's going to be taking place might be around the volcanoes, so, and the only thing comes down on us is powder and dust. It says, the Father will change the rain of your land to powder and dust from the heaven. It shall come down on you until you are destroyed. The Father will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall become troublesome to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your carcass shall be food for all the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and no one shall frighten them away. The Father will strike you with the boils of Egypt. Believe me, you don't want them suckers. With tumors, with the scab, and with the itch. Yes, I'm itching all the time too, okay? From which you cannot be healed. The Father will strike you with madness and blindness and confusion of heart. You see a lot of that going on today already. It says, and you shall grope at noonday as a blind man gropes in darkness. You shall not increase in your ways. You shall be only oppressed and plundered continually, and no one shall save you. I've been there. You shall betroth a wife, but another man shall lie with her. How often is that going on? You shall build a house, but you shall not dwell in it. I've been there. You shall plant a vineyard, but you shall not gather its grapes. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you shall not eat it. Your donkey shall be violently taken away before you, and shall not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given to your enemies, and you shall have no one to rescue them. Your sons and daughters shall be given to another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no strength in your hand. A nation whom you have not known shall eat the fruit of your land and the produce of your labor, and you shall be only oppressed and crushed continually. This is what you get for not being in the new covenant. So you shall be driven mad because of the sight which your eyes see. Yahweh will strike you in the knees and on the legs with severe boils which cannot be healed, and from the sole of your foot to the top of your head. Them boils are going to be some bad things, man. I don't even think figs are going to help you. The Father will bring you and the king whom you set over you. Okay, now there you are. The Father's going to bring you and the king, whether it's Trump or whatever, whatever king you put over you, whatever nation you're from. I don't put them over me. I don't vote. I put out videos about this, but I'm not going to be one who puts a king over me. I've got one. His name is Yahshua. He's our Messiah. The Father will bring you and the king whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there you shall serve other gods, or I should say serve gods, and that word other shouldn't even be there because Yahweh's not a god. Wood and stone. People make these things out of wood and stone. Our Father created the wood, He created the stone, and yet they still use it to honor gods. Deuteronomy 28:37, and you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where Yahweh shall drive you. You shall carry much seed out to the field, but gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. You shall plant, and of course, people could say, well, look at the locust over there in Africa, Ethiopia. And so it's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. You shall plant vineyards and tend them, but you shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. And you shall have olive trees throughout all your territory, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olives shall drop off. I mean, it sucks not to be part of the new covenant, my friends. Consider it. You shall beget sons and daughters, but they shall not be yours. And a lot of that goes on right now. Every child that's born, the government thinks they own them. For they shall go into captivity. And it's kind of sad, because a lot of times parents, who have custodianship over their own children that are owned by the state, if they commit certain crimes, parents can go to jail for it. But if the state owns them, why in the world don't they put officials into jail or whatever when a child misbehaves? Question. Deuteronomy 28:42. Locusts shall consume all your trees and the produce of your land. The alien who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. He shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. And that's only the easy parts. Wait till you see the curses that are coming on those who want to be covenant breakers. And that's why I believe the Holy Spirit will be poured out first before this comes, because everyone will be aware of these things. And if they turn from the truth, going back like a dog returning to its vomit, or a sow returning to the mire, then these things will come upon them, and they'll know why. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you and pursue and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of Yahweh your Father. How? To keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded you. You can't get away from it, folks. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder. See, they're even going to have a sign on them when they break these laws. And on your descendants forever, because you did not serve Yahweh your Father with joy and gladness of heart, for the abundance of everything. Yes, look around you. I mean, right now, there's an abundance of everything. If King Solomon wanted to, listen to a certain song, he'd have to bring in the whole orchestra. Bring in the singers and the drummers and the dancers. You had to hire them. It wasn't just turning on a switch in those days. Therefore you shall serve your enemies, whom Yahweh will send against you, in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in need of everything. And he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. The Father will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which does not respect the elderly, nor show pardon to the young. And they shall eat the increase of your livestock, and the produce of your land, until you are destroyed. They shall not leave you grain, or new wine, or oil, or the increase of your cattle, or the offspring of your flocks, until they have destroyed you. Now, this is in their land. Remember, with the blessings, I believe will be at the time of gathering. The nations are going to be bringing us their tithes, their offerings. They're not going to be coming up against us like they are on those on the outside, because the whole world is going to recognize our Father's Son's holy temple, his body in the flesh, living and gathered in a certain area. We're not going to be involved with this. This is for those on the outside that break the covenant. For you who keep the covenant will be protected. And in our land, all these curses will be reversed for us. They shall besiege you at your gates until your high and fortified walls in which you trust. See, they didn't trust in Yahshua. They trusted in their stinking walls, the fortified ones even. Down there on the border, whatever. Come down throughout all your land, and they shall besiege you at all your gates throughout all your land, which the Father Yahweh has given you. Now here you go. They're doing this already. They're putting these things in food as natural flavors and, natural ingredients. The fruit of your own body here, the abortions. That's why they want abortions, to put them in your food and your cosmetics, your soaps, and so many things they use our poor dead children in, making money off the deaths of these children, off the murders. And it says here, it's already taken place, but this is going to be even different. This is going to be where let it speak for itself. Deuteronomy 28:53. You shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom Yahweh your Father has given you, in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you. The sensitive and very refined man You know, he's got feelings for everything. There's some of those guys in India, I think, that go everywhere with a broom to sweep so they don't step on germs. The sensitive and very refined man among you will be hostile toward his brother, toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the rest of his children whom he leaves behind, so that he may not give any of them the flesh of his children, whom he will eat, because he has nothing left in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you at your gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground because of her delicateness and sensitivity, will refuse to the husband of her bosom and to her son and her daughter her placenta, which comes out from between her feet, and her children whom she bears, for she will eat them secretly for lack of everything in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you at all your gates. If you do not carefully observe the words of this law that are written in this book, that you may fear this glorious and awesome name, Yahweh Almighty. And you can only get to him through Yahshua, his righteous son. Then the Father will bring upon you the descendants extraordinary plagues, great and prolonged plagues, and serious prolonged sicknesses. Moreover, he'll bring back on you all the diseases of Egypt on which you were afraid, and they shall cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law will Yahweh bring upon you until you're destroyed. You shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven in multitude, because you would not obey the voice of Yahweh your Father. And it shall be that just as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do you righteousness and multiply you, so the Father will rejoice over you to destroy you and bring you to nothing. And you shall be plucked off the land which you go to possess. Then Yahweh will scatter you among the peoples from one end of the earth to the other, and there you shall serve gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. And among those nations you shall find no rest, nor shall the sole of your foot have a resting place. But there the Father will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and anguish of soul. Your life shall hang in doubt before you. You shall fear day and night, and have no assurance of life. In the morning you shall say, oh, that it were evening. And in the evening you shall say, oh, that it were morning. Because of the fear which terrifies your heart, and because of the sight which your eyes see. Yahweh will take you back to Egypt in ships, by the way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again. And there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. You know, a lot of prophecies talk about in the end days here coming that everyone's going to be bald. The women that had beautiful flowing hair and everything, they're going to have scabs. Smelling rotted flesh on people walking around, and those that are dead, kind of, brings to mind all those coffins that the caskets that they have stored up in South Carolina and Georgia and Texas and other places, where they can seat 5. Most of these things, my friends, they may be coming by man, a lot of them, but there are certain things that our King is going to be bringing. In fact, he's allowing men to do it, so in a way you can say our King is bringing it all, regardless how it comes. Remember the blacksmith. Our Father created the blacksmith. He created the coals. He created the man that brings forth the weapons and the wasters to destroy. But if you keep the commandments and you become part of the covenant, the new covenant, Hebrews, chapter 8, read it again, then you don't have to worry about these things. You'll be blessed. With that, my friends, I did it. The whole chapter of Deuteronomy 28. Can you believe it? I love y'all. Bye.